What's up, guys? Caleb here from Srkcycles. Sean is over there taking photos like a creeper. Deuces, creeper! What's up, guys? So, this is my second motorcycle talk video. Hopefully you don't hear the wind. I gotta keep this screen partially opened just so that I don't get smoked out in here. So guys, this is my second video, and I've kind of come to the conclusion I'm a big sports guy. I played college baseball. I played, 3 sports in high school. I played basketball, baseball, and a little bit of golf. I guess I was more of a 2-sport athlete because we didn't have football in my school. But so I decided that, being a big baseball guy, that's kind of what I want to talk about. It's kind of what I want to get into. I know some of you guys might not be sports fans, but you're welcome to give me your opinion below. And if you are a sports fan, please comment back. I'd love to comment back with my thoughts. But I'm a big baseball guy, and so I know my last talk was on the Super Bowl and Tom Brady, touchdown Tommy and the Patriots. But I want to give you guys today who I think going into the 2017 season are going to be the top 5 clubs in baseball. Now, some of you guys might not agree with me. Some of you guys might agree on the teams, maybe not the order. And so, please let me know your thoughts. Please let me know what you guys are thinking, because I'd love to hear it. So I'm going to start off at number 5, and number 5 is kind of a tough one for me. I know the Giants might not be in a lot of people's top 5s, but I'm a big Giants fan, but they do not actually crack my top 5. My 5th team is going to actually be the LA Dodgers. And it's a toss-up for me because I'm a big Dodgers guy, and I'm flirting with the idea that if Bryce Harper comes back and is the MVP type candidate that he was, I really think Washington has a legitimate shot at, a legitimate shot at the World Series. They got a strong team. They got some good pieces, and really the only piece they were missing there in the second half was an MVP type candidate in Bryce Harper. So Washington is going to battle out that 5 spot with the LA Dodgers. And the Dodgers, for me, it's because you got Clayton Kershaw. He's the best pitcher in baseball. You also have, who I think one of the best young players in the game. You got Corey Seager playing shortstop. To me, the Dodgers are a well-rounded team. They made the postseason now for a while. They're a good, well-coached team. Their coach is an extremely good strategist. He uses the most pitcher substitutions in baseball, really works his bullpen, really works his starting pitching, and they're healthy. Hopefully if they're healthy the whole year, they stay well. The addition of Kenta Maeda, I think Kenta Maeda is a legitimate pitcher. I think Julio Urias is a great pitcher. I think the Dodgers have a lot to prove, and they got a big payroll. They are a quality big market team. Coming in at number 4, this is a little different. I know they had kind of a rough-ish year last year, but kind of like the 2015 season. I'm really liking the Houston Astros. For me, Houston has got everything offensively. You add Bregman. They got 2 of the best young infielders in the game, and Bregman and Correa, added with probably the best contact hitter in baseball and the best second baseman in Jose Altuve. I think George Springer's going to have a monster year. I really like Houston. Houston's a good one. Houston's a big one for me because I think Houston has all the pieces. The only thing that could maybe limit Houston would be their starting pitching. I think back end Houston's fine, but the starting pitching, I really hope Keuchel has the kind of year he had in 2015. I know he's not a big velo guy, but that's the kind of guy I want to see Keuchel be. A lot of good off speed. So for me, number 4 comes in at Houston Astros. Now, I know a lot of you guys might not agree with me on this, but my number 3 team is actually going to be what probably most people think is going to be the best team this year, and that is the, well, maybe besides the Cubs, but that is going to be the Boston Red Sox. Now, I know they added Chris Sale, and I know that, they have a lot of offensive power. Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley Jr., Xander Bogaerts. They are a legitimate team. The big thing for me is when you lose someone like David Ortiz, it's really tough for me to say that you can have the exact same offensive year that you had the year before. I know David Ortiz is older. I know he's a DH. But the offensive year he had last year was insane. And then in addition to, I mean, he adds so much knowledge to that club. He brings so much experience, so much postseason experience. That's a big loss for them. Now I know they had Chris Sale, and so you got a guy in Chris Sale and you got a guy in David Price that are both big time, big moment pitchers. And it's kind of sad when you're going to have the reigning AL Cy Young winner probably starting the year off as your 3 starter. So that's how deep that starting rotation is for Boston. And then you add someone like Matt Barnes in the back of the bullpen. I mean, Matt Barnes is the legitimate, tall, big thrower. He's got a lot of upside. He's got a lot of velocity. Guy coming out of Connecticut, just like George Springer. He's got a lot of command on that fastball. He's a big power guy. And so I think adding him to the back end of that bullpen, Boston's got a legit bullpen. And so I'm rating in Boston at number 3. And then for me, I mean, the number 2 team, you saw them in the World Series. They ended the drought. I think the Chicago Cubs are the number 2 team in baseball to start the year. I know a lot of you guys might disagree. You might say, you know, Chicago's number 1. Last year they were number 1 in offense. Last year they were number 1 in pitching. There's no reason to think anything different. I know they lose Chapman, but they add that big closer out of Kansas City in Wade Davis. And so for me, I don't think Chicago got any worse. They got a little bit different. I think Wade Davis can be, you know, a lights out closer. Is he a Ross Chapman? I don't know. And then also too, you lose Dexter Fowler in center field, but you do have John Jay, and you have someone in Albert Almora Jr., who is a legitimate young star. And so, you know, Almora Jr. has a crazy year. Is he better than Fowler? Maybe. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. But you do have some serious upside there. And then Jason Hayward, I mean, he can't get any worse than his postseason performance last year. Jason Hayward, if he becomes, he's been working on his hitting in the offseason. If he becomes that hitter that he was early in his career in Atlanta, then I think, you know, the Cubs might even be better than they were last year. And that's crazy to think, considering that they, you know, ended the year, you know, as the number 1 team and number 1 in most categories, but they could be better than they were last year. And then for me, I think this is a no-brainer. Some of you guys might disagree with me. Some of you guys just might say I'm crazy. But to me, I think this is a no-brainer, and I think the Cleveland Indians come in at number 1. And here's the reason why. The Cleveland Indians, since last year, they will lose Mike Napoli and they will lose Raji Davis. You know, not huge, you know, not catastrophic losses, but those 2 guys, if you guys watch the World Series, Raji Davis came in huge situations, and Mike Napoli is a great player, don't get me wrong. However, they added Edwin Encarnacion. Edwin Encarnacion is one of the premier power hitters in baseball. There's no question. Anybody who wants to argue with me on that, you can comment below, but it's just the case. Edwin Encarnacion can put it out in Toronto. He can put it out in Cleveland. He is a legitimate force, and they added a legitimate force to that lineup. And he's a legitimate force, no offense to Mike Napoli, but he is a legitimate force in the postseason. If you watched him play Baltimore last year in that first round, he absolutely dominated at the end of the game off of Eduardo Jimenez, and that's the kind of clutch player that they needed last year. To me also, the addition of Michael Brantley coming back from the DL, that is going to be huge. You are looking at, in my opinion, a top 10, potentially, and don't get me wrong, don't overquote me here, but potentially a top 5 outfielder in baseball you are adding back to your lineup. Michael Brantley is a force to be reckoned with. Now, I haven't seen him in a year, and so I don't know exactly what they're going to get, but it's really hard to argue with his numbers and the numbers of that Cleveland Indians team. You know, and so I think then you move to the side, you know, you move to the pitching staff, and you had one of the best pitching staffs in the postseason, if not, you know, the second best pitching staff in the postseason behind, you know, maybe Chicago, and you're adding back, you know, Danny Salazar and Carrasco. And for me, those are 2 huge additions, because those are 2 guys that really lit the fire underneath this Cleveland team to start the year. I mean, those are 2 great pitchers. And so for me, when you add back talent like that, you're not going out, you're not getting talent, you're not messing with team chemistry, you're adding talent like that you already had on your roster. you know, that's where their pitching staff is going to be so well rounded out. Now you can take guys like Trevor Bauer, who might be sporadic. You can move him, you know, more to the back end of that rotation, maybe to a spot starter guy, maybe even throw him in as a middle reliever. He's got electric stuff. Now you give him a few innings to work with. Trevor Bauer, you might see a whole new Trevor Bauer. And so for me, Cleveland, you know, you have another year with Andrew Miller and Brian Shaw and Cody Allen, three of the best backhand bullpen guys there were last year. You know, I don't think Cleveland got any worse. I would very, very make a strong argument that Cleveland actually got a lot better, just because you're adding a lot more pitching, and they were fried after last year. You add a lot more pitching, and not just that, you add guys back there were in your injured reserve, and then you had Edwin Encarnacion. To me, Cleveland's a team to beat this year, guys. I don't see many teams competing with them in the American League, to be honest. I think Boston's got a good squad. I do not think Boston is on the same level as Cleveland. I don't. I really think the only team that really, you know, is a good matchup for Cleveland again is Chicago. Now, I'm not just saying that because they played in the World Series last year, but I think this is one of the first years where I look at two teams that played in the World Series. They didn't really lose too many players. They didn't really retool, you know, crazy amounts, but they are two legitimate teams with legitimate young players. You know, Lindor on one side and you know, guys like Javier Baez and guys like Chris Bryant on the other side. Two teams that could rematch in the World Series. This could be that year, and if it is, that would be crazy. But you heard it here first, guys. This is a Cycle Talk. Definitely make sure to subscribe to our channel, Srkcycles. These are my videos. Hey, if you think maybe this is something I should start a new channel talking about sports while riding a bike, just let me know. Comment below, let us know, give us some feedback, share the videos. If you don't agree with me on the sports, comment below. I don't care. I love constructive feedback. But thanks a ton for watching, guys, and definitely make sure to check out our YouTube channel. Definitely make sure to check out our website. Definitely make sure, if you're looking for a bike, to give us a shout. Thanks, guys.